on this Tuesday night.
In China, there's no coincidence. If they want to send you a message, they will send you a message.
A Chinese high-tech executive gets bail in BC while a former Canadian diplomat is detained in China. Is Beijing making good on its threat to punish Canada?
A deadly attack at a French Christmas market sparks a manhunt. Police knew all about the suspect. Why couldn't they stop him sooner?
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You've said it.
I'll take it.
And you don't often see political negotiations like this on TV.
I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And
We
I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you what.
disagree.
Could the battle over Donald Trump's border wall really grind government to a complete halt? This is The National.
For days, China has warned of serious consequences if Canada didn't release a Huawei executive. Well, late today, a Vancouver court granted bail to Meng Wanzhou, but not before Beijing made its move, detaining a former Canadian diplomat. An apparent retaliation. The case has launched a tense diplomatic row among three countries, and there is a lot at stake for Canada, who made the arrest at the request of the Americans, and for the two global powers at the center of it all, embroiled in trade negotiations so important, Donald Trump even threatened to step in. Canadian Michael Kovrig is caught in the middle of it. Kovrig currently works with an NGO in the region, but he has deep ties to Canada's Foreign Service too. As Katie Simpson tells us, it appears he's become a political pawn.
So let's bring in our panel, Michael Kovrig.
Michael Kovrig knows exactly how China operates. As a former Canadian diplomat, news agencies sought out his expertise. Now the analyst has become the story.
Obviously, we are aware of the situation of a Canadian detained in China. We have been in direct contact with the Chinese diplomats and representatives.
Kovrig was arrested in China, but Ottawa says there's no explicit reason why. This former Canadian ambassador who worked with Kovrig says it is likely retaliation after Canada's arrest of Meng Wanzhou.
In China, there's no coincidence. If they want to send you a message, they will send you a message.
Guy Saint-Jacques says Kovrig received specialized diplomatic training. He was given sensitive assignments and met with Chinese dissidents. In a brutal twist, he also played a vital role in helping Kevin and Juliet Garrett after the Canadian couple was unjustly detained by the Chinese.
So he will be subject to lengthy interrogation sessions. Unfortunately, Michael knows this because he was at the embassy when we were dealing with the Garrett case and trying to get them out of China.
We are treating Mr. Kovrig's case really seriously.
The Foreign Affairs Minister is now seeking more information about Kovrig's condition. And until details are clear, Chrystia Freeland has a message for his family.
This has our attention at the very highest levels of our government. We're very, very focused on it. And, know that we are concerned.
The Foreign Affairs Minister has spent the past 2 days emphasizing that Canada can't and won't intervene in the Huawei case. But that message is being undercut tonight in stunning comments by U.S. President Donald Trump, who tells Reuters he would intervene if it would improve U.S.-China trading relations. That is a move that is not going to improve Canada-U.S. relations. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
Okay, let's go now to the side of the story that is playing out really directly here in Canada. Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou was arrested more than a week ago on U.S. charges related to possible violations of trade sanctions against Iran. The U.S. wants her extradited. Well, tonight she's been granted bail by a Vancouver court. The hearing lasted 3 days. And as Briar Stewart tells us, permission to be released comes at a hefty price.
When the judge announced that Meng Wanzhou had been granted bail, her supporters who had been in court and outside standing around with signs started clapping.
I feel exhausted, and I can, I'm quite satisfied with the Canadian system.
We think she should be released right away.
back to China. That's what should do.
But Meng will stay in Canada in a home owned by her husband, and she'll have to abide by an 11 p.m. curfew. In the judge's decision, he referred to her as a well-educated woman without a criminal record. He said she could be released with a number of conditions to prevent her from fleeing. Her husband, a venture capitalist, will put up $7 million in cash. The defense also found others willing to help. Canadian citizens who know Meng, like her former realtor and neighbors. They will put up an additional $3 million in cash and property. The judge says Meng will have to hire a surveillance team to accompany her whenever she leaves her house. She will also have to surrender her passports and wear an electronic monitoring bracelet. In a statement, Huawei says, "We have every confidence that the Canadian and U.S. legal systems will reach a just conclusion in the following proceedings. As we've stressed all along, Huawei complies with all applicable laws and regulations in the countries and regions where we operate." Meng is accused of fraud for deceiving financial institutions, but experts say this extradition case is far from typical.
What's fascinating about this case, of course, is that it revolves around sanctions. Sanctions is a political issue.
Leo Adler is a criminal lawyer who's been watching the case.
What you may ultimately see is a very concerted effort to attack and challenge the basis of the extradition on the grounds that this is a political decision.
And the extradition process could take years, which is why Meng is planning to bring her 10-year-old daughter from China over to Vancouver to live with her. The next time Meng will be back in court will be in February. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
In China, the outcry against Canada has been swift. So let's bring in our Asia correspondent, Sasha Petrusik, with The View from Beijing. So, Sasha, why is the Chinese government seemingly targeting Canada in this?
Well, I think all of this comes down to timing. Rosemary, right now there are some very sensitive trade talks that are going on between China and the United States, and they're aimed at ending this impasse, this trade war that's been going on between the two countries. These talks are very important for China. Beijing very much wants them to succeed, and it doesn't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize that. Attacking the United States, as Beijing has done many times before in newspapers and speeches, that only risks alienating Washington, and China doesn't want to do that. So the second choice is go after Canada.
And give us a sense of how this is all playing out among the Chinese public. Is there any sort of reaction?
It hasn't been a big issue, I have to say. There have been some comments on the Canadian Embassy's Weibo page, which is a bit like Facebook, attacking Canada, criticizing Canada. I'll read you a few. "Shame on you, Canada. Canada is a dog without its own brain," says another person. "It is nothing but a state of the U.S." So this is the tone that's been there. Much of it is similar to government talking points, though, too. For years now, President Xi Jinping has been making a cornerstone of Chinese nationalism, of his policies, saying that China is rising, but its rise has been slowed down or it's been kept down by the West, and that it has to react against these humiliations that the West imposes on it. So what happens when something like this comes out, this arrest? China feels it has to react for domestic consumption as well as world consumption. Canada gets caught in the middle. Rosie?
The CBC's Asia correspondent, Sasha Petrusik in Beijing, where it's already Wednesday morning. Thanks.
My pleasure.
In France tonight, there's grief, fear, and now some growing anger. A gunman killed 3 people and wounded 12 others, and the suspect was known to security services. So the gunman fled the scene after exchanging fire with police. He's still at large. This deadly attack unfolded in Strasbourg, a major city in France's Alsace region near the German border. It is home to a world-famous Christmas market that's near the scene of the attack. The CBC's Nala Ayed is following this developing story and has the unsettling details.
On the busy, early evening sidewalks near a Christmas market drawing people in the thousands, security was, in the words of the mayor, draconian. But somehow, the lone gunman got through, unleashing panic. The horror of the attack as it unfolded, captured here as people sprint to get away. One of them is shot. Then there are yet more gunshots. In several cases, the injuries are critical. Peter Fritz witnessed the initial attack, which to him sounded like firecrackers.
Then, when I turned the corner, I immediately realized how grave the situation was. There was this man on the ground, bleeding from the head with the apparent gunshot wound. There was his wife next to him, crying out for help. Some people had already started to resuscitate him. First, we did it out on the streets. Then we dragged him into a restaurant that was right close by, and tried to resuscitate him for 45 minutes, unfortunately to no avail.
The gunman apparently also wounded in a shootout with soldiers. But with him still on the run, in the streets and online, people were ordered to hide in place, to stay indoors. Dozens still stuck in restaurants as the manhunt continued. Even the European Parliament, based in Strasbourg, it too was put on lockdown, and the border controls nearby tightened. Local reports say the man is Strasbourg-born and has been known to police, that he frequented extremist circles, that he was even to be arrested in a raid on his home earlier in the day in connection to a robbery. There were reports security forces had cornered the gunman, that he was holed up in a building. But the Interior Minister said he was still on the run. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, tweeted, "Solidarity of the whole nation for Strasbourg, its victims and their families." Once again, France will be waking up to a raft of disturbing questions. Strasbourg's mayor says the Christmas market will be closed tomorrow to investigate how the gunman got into the security zone to kill. The other urgent question is why. Nala Ayed, CBC News, London.
Now, the suspect in the Christmas market shooting was on something called the S list, S for security. It's effectively France's terrorism watch list, and it's huge. More than 26,000 names are on it, and some of those people have gone on to attack. August 2015, a man who opened fire on a train, wounding 4, was on the S list. March 2018, a 26-year-old who killed 3 people and took hostages at a supermarket was on the S list. And so was the knife-wielding man who stabbed 5 people in Paris, killing 1 in May. Now, that's just a sample. There are more. And that fact frustrates the French.
L'auteur de cette fusillade était fiché S, ça veut donc dire qu'il était suivi par la DGSI, la Direction Générale de Sécurité Intérieure.
Keeping an eye on all those people is beyond the capabilities of even the most robust forces. Full-time monitoring of 1 person on the list, according to French police, would take 20 officers. So nearly 500,000 officers would be required to simply watch them all. And here's a jarring detail. Last spring, a local official said 10% of all the people on France's S list are reportedly from the greater Strasbourg area.
Okay, let's take you to Washington now, where for all the recent talk about civility, leaders on both sides of the aisle sure gave each other an earful today, right in the Oval Office. A meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and top Democrats devolved into a very public bickering match. Ellen Morrow takes us through the fiery exchange moment by moment.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a great honor to have Nancy Pelosi with us and Chuck Schumer with us.
It started off amicably enough, but then...
If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am proud, and I'll tell you what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck.
An explosive encounter normally reserved for behind closed doors, playing out for the press.
We need border security. The wall is a part of border security. You can't have very good border security without the wall.
That's simply not true. That is a political promise. Border security is a way to effectively honor our responsibility.
And the experts say you can do border security without a wall, which is wasteful and doesn't solve the problem.
At issue, Trump's border wall. He wants $5 billion in funding for it to avoid a government shutdown. The Democrats say no way.
Let me just finish. Because you can't get your way.
The last time you shut it down, you got killed.
Let me say something, Mr. President. You just say my way or we'll shut down the government.
The White House called the meeting constructive. It's a preview of the next 2 years in Washington, with politics set to become even more divided once the Democrats take the House in January. Pelosi alluded to the midterm victory today, and the president hit back.
60 people of the Republican Party are losing their offices now because of the transition. People are not, the morale
And we've gained
is
in the
not-
Senate. Nancy, we've
morale
gained in the Senate. Excuse me, did we win the Senate?
is
We
not
won the Senate.
Despite the sparring, President Trump tried to end on an agreeable, if not ironic, note.
We need border security. I think we all agree that we need border security.
Yes,
Is that
we
right?
do.
Good.
We do.
See, we get along. Thank you, everybody.
But can the two sides ever agree on what border security means? To borrow a phrase from President Trump himself, we'll see what happens. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
Well, overseas, Brexit is in trouble. As it stands, there's just one deal on the table for the UK's orderly exit from the EU, and it is on life support. So Theresa May has embarked on a frantic journey within Europe to get something, anything, that might drum up political support in Parliament.
And running away rather than facing the verdict of this House.
It's plain as day. The opposition wants to bring May down.
We need to do the appropriate thing, have a motion of no confidence in order to get rid of this government.
Even members of her own party have reportedly drafted letters calling for her removal. Today, she sprinted through 3 European capitals. A small obstacle, a car door stuck in rain-soaked Berlin. A bad omen, maybe, but certainly one that underscores her predicament. Smiles and handshakes aside, EU leaders, with whom that Brexit deal has to be negotiated, their terms are final.
It's the best deal available. Indeed, it's the only deal available.
So back in London tonight, May returns to an uncertain future for herself and for Britain. Now, there's still time to reach a deal, but the uncertainty alone is taking a punishing toll. And Thomas Daigle shows us who's smack in the middle of it.
At Britain's biggest flower market this early in the morning,
£35 a wrap.
There's barely time to stop and smell those blooms. With much of London still asleep, this industry is already bustling.
People go into hotels, etc., 3 o'clock in the morning to do their flowers. If they don't arrive till 7 or 8, it's a disaster.
Most flowers here have one thing in common. They've come from the Netherlands, either grown there or purchased from Dutch exporters.
Holland are the masters, you know, they flower the world, that's their motto, and they do.
Flowers coming from Europe usually go through customs and sanitary checks right at the warehouse in the Netherlands. But florists fear Brexit without a deal could lead to serious delays in a business full of tight deadlines. The UK could impose new border checks, slowing the industry to a crawl. This is the busiest time of the year for flower shops. A make it or break it period as Brexit uncertainty leaves the industry wilting.
5 florist shops a week close on the high streets at the moment. How much will be left of our industry when they finally come to a deal or no deal?
This is one example of a British industry built around frictionless EU trade, hoping the Prime Minister can deliver a deal to ease Brexit's impact.
The deal that's on the table, we still don't know what the implications are going to be.
Every day, Gemma Kavanagh goes online to check prices from Dutch and British suppliers. And with Brexit sending the British pound tumbling, she's suffered a 20% hike in wholesale prices. This isn't what wholesaler John Hardcastle says he voted for. A self-proclaimed EU Remainer, he's grown sick of uncertainty.
We've been in limbo too long. We need a deal of some sort, one way or the other.
Deal or no deal, so far no one knows what Brexit Day will bring. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, London.
No flowers, apparently. Still ahead on The National. How people trapped in lockdown during the shooting in France paid tribute to those killed and injured. It's a moment you'll want to see, and not surprisingly, our moment of the day.
Yeah, plus the same fix for E. coli outbreaks on leafy greens could do a whole lot more. We'll take you inside a next-generation vertical farm.
We can increase things like calcium and phosphorus and
various vitamins by as much as 50%, just by changing light recipes.
A new and terrible kind of desert suddenly appears, a desert of water. Only the trees and the tops of barns and houses still hold their heads above the flood. From the Black Wednesday that the Agassiz dikes broke, the tragic story moved with breathtaking speed toward its terrible climax. Community after community wavered and fell before the onslaught of the river. Every 24 hours brought fresh reports of disaster. Crops disappeared under the muddy waters. Valuable equipment and homes built by years of effort were swallowed up in the ever-widening Fraser. The last week of May 1948 will be remembered by the people of the Fraser Valley as a week of brutal tragedy. For miles, there were no longer the neat fields and fences, the pleasant farms and pastures and country roads, but only a waste of dirty water dotted with the rooftops of barns and houses. Whole communities were isolated and others engulfed by water. And all the time, the Fraser moved on relentlessly, rising each day as the melting snows poured their enormous weight into its headwaters. By now, the flood was recognized as a major disaster and began its long sojourn on the front pages of the newspapers. And by now, too, the full facilities of the Canadian Red Cross had swung into the battle. With the willing assistance of transportation companies and private individuals, the mass evacuations of flooded areas began. In some cases, evacuation by normal means was impossible, and the Army Duck went back on active service, this time on a mission of mercy. One of the farmers' greatest worries was for the safety of their livestock. Valuable sheep, in many cases, had to be taken to safe ground in rowboats. Each sheep had to be carried to shore, where they waited trussed up and panting in animal terror. Cows are one of the most important assets in the Fraser Valley. Many of them, marooned on high ground, were badly in need of milking. Every truck that could be pressed into service was utilized in an effort to rescue these animals. On Friday, May the 28th, the provincial government authorized the use of troops to aid in evacuation. Sailors became familiar and welcome sights to valley residents cut off by the floodway.
Police discovered the body of a missing teenager in Thunder Bay this past weekend. Braden Jacob was at least the 11th Indigenous youth to be found dead there since 2000. He will be on the minds of many tomorrow when a report is released into the way the city's police investigate Indigenous deaths and missing persons cases. Karen Pauls tells us what the report means to the community.
To go to the hospital.
This video, which surfaced last week, appears to show an Indigenous youth being hit by a Thunder Bay police officer.
You do not spit on me! Because our actions speak much louder than words.
Just the latest example of what people here say is racist policing.
They're supposed to uphold the morals and values, the very fabric of society, right? And if they're treating Indigenous people like this, that leaves it wide open for Indigenous peoples, for hate crimes.
Just a few blocks away, people gathered to support the family of another young man whose body was found in a local park on Sunday. 17-year-old Braden Jacob was in Thunder Bay for medical reasons.
It's very shocking for my people in the community are impacted as well.
Well, Boss says so far he's happy with the way Jacob's case is being investigated, but that's not true for many cases the police force has handled. There's already been an inquest into the deaths of 7 Indigenous students. But it was 41-year-old Stacey DeBungy's death that triggered the systemic review. His death was ruled non-criminal just 25 hours after his body was found here.
Indigenous people are seen differently when it comes to their safety, when it comes to their tragedies, their deaths.
Most of it is all blocked.
Thea Glidey never believed the Thunder Bay police report into the death of her sister Christine.
To me, it almost felt like they didn't want to deal with it. It's almost like, okay, and she just froze, and then that's done.
She hopes tomorrow's report will force police to reopen the case.
I'm hurt, frustrated, knowing what really happened to her. I want to know.
Back at the community meeting, business owner Lori Paris says everyone has a role to play in repairing this fractured city.
We can become the city that's known for turning this around, or we're going to have a stain in our history that we might not be able to ever get over.
Like the sleeping giant, this city is waiting. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Thunder Bay.
And still ahead on The National, journalists became the story in 2018. Now Time magazine names the reporters they call guardians as Person of the Year.
Plus, in the chilly debate over a holiday classic, a bit of a thaw.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Last week, CBC removed Baby It's Cold Outside from seasonal playlists. Some say the song, written in 1944, depicts a predator coercing his target, especially after so many Me Too revelations.
Mind if I move in closer?
Today, CBC relaxed its decision with this explanation. Because we value our audience input, which was overwhelmingly to include the song, we've put it back on the two playlists where it had been removed. But the song is still exiled from the all-Christmas stations owned by Rogers and Bell Media. Just ahead, our pop panel looks at other problematic songs of the season and why they could now leave you cold.
June of last year, 90 pressmen go on strike. They're the people who print the paper. The other workers are laid off, and they collect unemployment insurance. While they're laid off, their contracts expire too, and they form a common front with the pressmen. Here, management made its first and biggest mistake. It took a tough bargaining position on feather bedding, hoping to cut down on the number of pressmen. All later mistakes simply compounded this mistake. It was based on the illusion the Star could withstand a long strike. Art Wood became publisher later. During the strike, he was managing editor and a member of the bargaining team.
When the strike first began, there was a feeling, I think, that if we could get better concessions and better press manning operations in our press room in this newspaper, that it eventually would help the industry as a whole, that we could be the breakthrough, and it may reflect on the kind of press manning clause that would be granted elsewhere.
I'm not sure whether they were out to bust the unions or not. I know they were out to play very hard in negotiation and dig their feet in.
The Star was fighting against demands already conceded by La Presse, and in fact, it was trying to take back rights already won by the pressmen in previous contracts. The pressmen refused absolutely to give back what they already had. Management wouldn't move, and for almost 3 months, there were no negotiations. But the pressmen were working elsewhere. They weren't suffering from the strike, so they couldn't be beaten. In September, management finally backed down, and the talks went forward. But in such a hostile atmosphere, they took much longer than necessary.
Do you think if the company had handled the negotiations differently, you could have saved a couple of months or half of that strike?
I think the company should have moved a little bit earlier than it did from some of the hardline positions it had taken. And I think we could have saved some time. Yes, we could have.
Is this the man responsible for the long strike? He's William Goodson, then publisher of the paper. FP Publications, the chain that owned the Star, says he was given complete freedom in the negotiations. Goodson has said his decisions were approved from above. This is an old interview with Goodson. He was not available this week for an interview. On February 6th, the last contract was approved. The strike had taken 8 months, and the reporters were eager to get back.
Can you go back to work as one big family now? Oh, I think so. I think we'll be anxious to get back there and clobber the Gazette.
On February 12th, the presses rolled again, and management was confident too. As it turned out, overconfident.
We're going to go out and regain our circulation, advertising, and our editorial position in the city. In other words, we will become the #1 English language newspaper again.
The second mistake was made immediately. Advertising rates were kept at pre-strike levels, always much higher than the Gazette's. Except now, the Star didn't have the circulation to justify the rates.
Well, I think obviously it's turned out that it was a mistake. It's turned out that it turned off some of our advertisers who felt that they were paying for something they weren't getting. They're paying the cost per thousand, which is on which an advertising lineage rate is based, was obviously too high for what we were able to deliver for them.
It appears the Star felt that all it had to do was open its doors and the advertisers would come back. They didn't, and in the end it was the lack of advertisers that killed the paper. The same overconfidence led to the next mistake, a bad advertising campaign. A campaign that reflected the paper's high opinion of itself.
You can switch back now. The Montreal Star. Best news in months.
Meanwhile, the Gazette was running a clever series of ads that seemed to have the whole city singing.
It's a facility that specializes in the treatment of sex offenders. And that's where Rafferty is, behind the razor wire.
Welcome back. An update to a story we told you about yesterday about how Tory Stafford's killer, Michael Rafferty, was moved out of a maximum security prison. You saw Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale adding there that Corrections Canada will be reviewing if mistakes were made in notifying Rodney Stafford about the transfer of his daughter's killer to a medium security facility. In March, Rafferty was moved into that medium security institution. Stafford wasn't notified about it until this week.
Let's start making more of the products that the world needs right here at home.
Alberta's premier has a new plan to deal with the low price of Canadian oil. She wants a new refinery built and is asking companies to send in their pitches. It can be brand new or an expansion of an existing facility, but she says it has to create jobs for Albertans and show a return on investment.
We don't participate in partisan activities.
Thank you, Mr. Nadler.
Google CEO Sundar Pichai was in the hot seat today over data collection. It's the first time he's been in front of the U.S. House Judiciary Committee, and they were keen to learn about how the company operates. Pichai was asked about alleged bias in the company's search results and about reported plans to launch a censored search engine in China. He answered there's no plan for that, but did not rule it out either.
So aggressive! So calm at the same time!
And it is that style and speed on the slopes that landed mogul skier Mikhail Kingsbury with the 2018 Lou Marsh Trophy. The Quebec native is the first freestyle skier to win the award that recognizes the Canadian Athlete of the Year. The 26-year-old won his first Olympic gold medal earlier this year at the Pyeongchang Games, and he also set an all-time record for wins on the World Cup mogul circuit.
Here we go again. Yet another celebrity has been taken down by the internet, and this time it's Kevin Hart.
Last week, Hart was named the 2019 Oscars host, and then some of his old homophobic materials resurfaced.
The Oscars wanted him to apologize so that he could do the show, but instead he quit, and then he apologized anyway. I'm Stephen Marsh, random Toronto writer.
I'm Ashani Nath, senior editor at Flair.com.
I'm Elamin Abdul-Mahmoud. I'm a news curation editor at BuzzFeed News. Hart says he's already addressed the old materials and that he's past it. But in 2018, there is no such thing.
Now the Oscars are left without a host, and I'm left wondering, who would even want this job?
The problem is that there are no comics in the world who are both funny and who have never offended anybody.
Okay, so you are all the wily veterans of the pop panel. I am the interloper this week, but I come with thoughts. And we have to talk about this craziness with the Oscars.
Right.
And Kevin Hart. He was, what, host for 10 minutes? I think, I'm not sure people necessarily remember his sort of half apology, half acknowledgement. So we have a little bit of a tape of it. Let's have a look.
The reason why I passed is because I've addressed this several times. This is not the first time this has come up. I've addressed it. I've spoken on it. I've said where the rights and wrongs were. I've said who I am now versus who I was then. I've done it. I've done it.
Okay, so I've done it. I've addressed it. But did he ever address those homophobic tweets?
Oh, sure, he's addressed them. He's never apologized for it. He's actually just talked about being like, yeah, that was me then, and this is me now. He's never really made the, oh, wow, I did something that was not good in making those remarks back in the day. He's never apologized for them. He's addressed them in a few interviews, and he's got this whole, self-improvement thing. So he's like, I'm Kevin Hart. I'm better than I was, 5 years ago. Well, that's nice, Kevin Hart, but it's not really an apology.
So whose screw up is this? Is it the Oscars or is it Kevin Hart's?
I mean, the Oscars should have probably Googled him, or should probably looked up some of his old tweets. That's just kind of the reality of now, is like you better research the people that you hire for these things.
I mean, arguably there's no comedian out there that's going to have like somewhat of a problematic past, but I think this example speaks more to how we should or could be apologizing. I don't think Kevin Hart actually properly apologize off the bat. He kind of just said, like, I've evolved, I'm different. And then in the Fast and Furious discussion afterwards, he did eventually apologize.
Right. But how do you do it properly, right?
Well,
like, I mean, obviously you don't do it in the first place, right? Like, that's the easy thing, is don't say these stupid things in the first place. But if you have done them, you know, how do you climb out of something so it doesn't haunt you forever?
Well, you can't. I mean, you're going to be haunted forever by all of these things. Like, there's no escape from it, right? And then once you start, I mean, I think what he knows with this thing is once he starts apologizing for this, it's just going to be like, he's going to be apologizing for the whole of the Oscars, and it's going to take over, right?
And that's why
like,
he stepped down, right? It was,
yeah, I mean,
he can't.
totally
Was going to be marked.
There's no win.
No, I think he had a platform. He definitely could have used that platform in a constructive way. I'm not looking for more apologies. I do think that we've seen a lack of people working it into their material or coming up with a creative way to acknowledge but then also move on. Like, saying
and
you're
no one's
sorry
good
is
at
one
apologies.
thing.
That seems to be like the through line here, is that no one can actually apologize properly.
Look, we're
no one
Canadian.
Can come out and say, we're
Canadian. We're the best at apologizing.
I actually think we're very bad at apologizing.
Well, our standards of apologizing are way higher than for Americans.
They're so superficial.
Well, yeah, we don't mean them, but we're really good at giving them.
But that's what I mean. It's like that seems to be what those apologies are. It's kind of like it's a lip service. It's a thing that you do to keep your brand alive. But everyone can look at that and be like, I don't buy it. I'm not buying this sort of contrition act.
So how do you make a real apology then? I mean, you talked about it like you work it into your work, but how else do you actually say I'm sorry and mean it?
Well, I mean, like, part of apologizing is knowing what you're apologizing for, not being sorry that people are mad at you. Those are two different things. And, like, we teach that to children. Like, we teach that to children when you say, like, say you're sorry for the hurt, not just because everybody's upset with you. But for some reason, celebrities seem to get a pass on this. They don't get to ever deliver that sort of fulsome apology.
This is just...
Steven is rolling his eyes.
Well,
I can't wait to hear what he's going to say.
I mean, this is just like, why are we holding celebrities to the standards we hold for our children? Surely when you say you want your children to be moral, that's why you teach them morality. I don't want my comedians to be moral. I don't care if they're moral. I really want them to be funny. And the truth is, it's not possible to be funny and to not offend anyone.
But look, the Oscars have a huge problem, right? They don't have a host. I mean, who in their right mind at this moment would take that on? I mean, there was like the Bob Hope days where he hosted 19 times and Billy Crystal 9 times, and we're down to like once and done.
I think it's a tough gig for sure. Like, and apparently it doesn't pay very much, and you're definitely going to open yourself.
By their standards, not very much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'll do it.
But I mean, personally, I would just love to see any woman take on that role. Like, I've seen a lot of talk about Maya Rudolph, Lena Waithe, Issa Rae. There's so much choice out there, so I think it's an easy out to say, like, this is a tough gig, so we can't find anyone for it. I think there's a lot of options. They might not be the conventional ones by those standards.
Also, when Kevin Hart was offensive, he wasn't offensive in a funny way. You know what I mean? Where I was like, I think you can be offensive like any of those people. Maya Rudolph has definitely made some offensive jokes that actually,
she has,
but that were also resonant and actually like culturally significant.
But what are they going to do when somebody says no, you can't have her because she's offensive? I mean, once you start to go down this route, you're never going to find.
I think Kevin Hart was a bit more blatantly offensive than Maya Rudolph trying to make an intelligent joke.
Oh my God! Okay, grades of offensive. Okay, so let's move on to something else that's offensive.
Okay. Love it.
Christmas songs.
Oh yes.
You know, I am a little bit surprised at how much mail we've had, or maybe it's me actually, about the "Baby It's Cold Outside." You know, the song banned from a number of radio stations. Are you on the ban or no ban side?
I'm really torn because, like, when you listen to it, I mean, she does say no, 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 no. And then he literally pulls her back. It's interesting that in the original musical, it was originally sung between a man and a woman, and then a woman, the parts were reversed.
Then it was reversed.
And then it was reversed, which is sort of more funny. I mean, I would much prefer it if they'd canceled it because it's such a bad song.
Well, on that note, why don't we have a little musical interlude here and risk the wrath and play a little bit of the song, maybe in both versions.
The neighbors might
But baby, it's bad out there.
say, what's in this
No
drink?
cabs to be had out there.
I wish I knew how
Your eyes are like stars
to
right now.
break this spell.
I'll take your hat. Your hair looks swell.
Okay, so in the original film, that version is immediately followed by this one.
Night.
I'll hold your hands, they're just like
My
ice.
mother will start to worry.
Beautiful, what's your
And
hurry?
father will be pacing the floor.
Listen to the fireplace
So
roar.
really, I'd better scurry.
Beautiful, please don't hurry.
Maybe just a little drink more.
Put some records on while I pour.
The neighbors might.
That's so strange. Nobody seems to remember that version. It doesn't make
No.
it any better, though, I'm guessing.
No, not to me.
I mean, why do we have to defend this song?
Yeah, I know.
It's not a matter of like, listen, I get it. People are outraged at the outrage. That seems to be a part of the news cycle. This just seems like a weird song to die on the hill of. Out of all songs, it's just like, it's not good.
And
It's
there
not a
are
good one.
so many others to talk about. I
Yes.
figured we'd go around the table and look for your problematic picks. Moderator's privilege. I'll go with mine first so you don't steal it. I used to belt the song out as a teenager, like full-throated enthusiasm until, I got a little older, I started to read about it, and I started to cringe.
Oh, I can't wait.
But it comes up every year. Have a listen. Let's just soak that in. Tonight, thank God it's them instead of you, talking about the famine in Ethiopia. I mean, it's a line that apparently Bono loathed. It took 20 years to change it. That song still hurts. I mean, I don't know if you know the story of this song.
I did not, and I had also not seen Bono without sunglasses, so that was a lot.
That campaign started after a CBC story. So Brian Stewart went to Ethiopia. He did these incredible stories about the famine in Ethiopia, and the whole Feed the World campaign came from his stories. That song came from the story. But
What a legacy.
And then it all comes down to that lyric.
Or do they know it's Christmas time?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
the
they do.
Ethiopians
They have a
know
calendar.
it's Christmas time.
For sure.
What's yours?
Mine is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I
mean, listen, Rudolph is bullied by everyone until a foggy night when Santa's like, oh, there's some utility to your mutation. And then all the
Buddy,
reindeers...
that's how life works.
Listen,
wake up.
I don't know where you live, man, but I try to have some compassion for the people around me. So the reindeers are like, I guess you can join in the reindeer games. It's a song that it's past time to do away with it.
That's so very sad. Okay.
All right, mine's not exactly problematic, but it's weird. The older I get, the weirder it sounds. Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Yeah.
She was drunk, went out into the street, died, and then they sang about it.
Well, that is not on my playlist.
It will never not be weird.
Yeah, it's very catchy, though.
It is.
Oh, Lord.
Mine is the Madonna version of Santa Baby, because it's really creepy.
Santa cutie, there's one thing I really do need.
She sings it in a sort of like little girl voice, and it's really like double entendres
Like
about
Santa as a sugar daddy?
Basically, like, come down the chimney, Santa, I'll sleep with you, you'll give me presents. I mean, it's really unattractive.
Well, oddly enough, you're not the only one to think that. That is almost precisely the email I got just last week. As always, you have your finger on the pulse. Listen, you're a bunch of ruffians. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Totally ruined Christmas for me, but there you go. Here's one more pop culture moment that caught our eye. You know these two. Check them out. Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara, stars of CBC's award-winning comedy Schitt's Creek. That name, it's okay for primetime, okay for CBC, but as O'Hara described the moment she was inducted into the Order of Canada on Ellen's very daytime talk show, things got a little dicey.
So then I get up, and they read my citation.
Her remarkable talent has led to many memorable performances in such blockbusters as Beetlejuice and Home Alone.
And then the girl says her current project is. I looked at her like, you're not going to say it.
Most recently in the hit series Schitt's Creek.
She said Schitt's Creek. Thank you.
I have to beep you.
I got bleeped?
Yeah, because it's daytime, so when you say Schitt's Creek, I have to say...
No.
Yeah, I can say Schitt's Creek, but I have to do that.
Oh, that's f***ed up.
Oh.
Schitt's Creek, nothing happens to me. All right, your moment of the day is coming up. But first, a preview of a story we'll have for you tomorrow on The National. Before solar and wind can be used to power neighborhoods and cities, scientists need to build a battery that can store all that electricity. Well, Paul Hunter meets a Canadian making waves at MIT and around the world for his work on a game-changing charge.
Take a look around this corner, and there it is, at a manufacturing plant in Massachusetts, something that just might change the world. A giant battery, big enough for a whole neighborhood, designed to keep working effectively forever.
I want to have a battery that's big, reliable, safe, and will deliver electricity for decades.
The invention of MIT professor of materials chemistry Don Sadoway is potentially the holy grail in the push toward clean energy.
This is not in the would-be nice category. This is in the must-have category.
Did I escape it because my skin was white? I don't know. I know that not all of my young friends got whipped or beaten or whatever. Not all of them. My mother had the option of homeschooling us, but she decided against that, and there was no other option. And I call them the PR nuns, but when Mom and Dad went over to see about the possibility of us going to St. Anne's, they were told by the PR nuns, oh, we have the top cream of the cream of teachers here. They all have their education. So just imagine in the morning, I get up and it's home. It's what I'm used to. We're in a freighter canoe, and now I've been whacked and pulled into St. Anne's, kicking and screaming, basically. I found it wasn't my skin that made me feel special. It was, I felt I was a little prince of the Hudson's Bay Company. I had learned class. I hadn't learned about racism. And suddenly I'm in a dormitory and I realize I don't think the Hudson's Bay Company can protect me here. I don't know what to do. Am I like them? 2 boys ran away. They brought them back and they had perished. They had died, and they brought them back on toboggans. And we were all assembled in the front yard, just like a prisoner of war camp. I thought, well, there's no hope then. I can't escape. And that's when I started banging my head on the wall to end it all. And so I tried to kill myself a few ways. One was to bang my head on, and this is on the cement wall, stuff rags or whatever I could find up my nose to stop my breathing. And outside, and keep in mind this in the wintertime, it's way up north, so it's pretty cold, I would take off my jacket and sit in the snowbank to try to freeze myself, and the nuns would have to come out and try to put my jacket on. I don't think I did it like, hundreds of times. I think I probably did it maybe 5 to 10 times, probably. Some people would say you're acting crazy, but I would say craziness is a natural reaction to a crazy situation. There's a fear that if you say it to somebody and they don't care, you suffer that hurt and that feeling all over again. And so I know I had that feeling like, will anybody care? And so that is a fear that I carry when I try talking about this. And I think it's an important message. I think I have a perspective that's unique in history. Unique in Canadian history.
People in Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick are still being told to avoid romaine lettuce following a recent outbreak of E. coli. This is the third such outbreak in just over 12 months. In all, 77 people have gotten sick. And part of what makes romaine susceptible, and lettuce in general, is how it's grown, often in big fields where soil and water can be contaminated by runoff from nearby farms. But there is another way. Tonight, Aaron Saltzman takes us inside a high-tech farm that's growing local, organic, non-GMO greens without the fear of E. coli.
At this upscale Italian restaurant, one of the favorites on the menu is Nona's salad.
It was beautiful. We had one guest who came and ordered it for lunch and ordered a second one, and then brought her friend the next day to order one, and then she came back a second day and had two.
It's modeled on a salad his grandmother served him growing up, but the main ingredients didn't come from any garden she's familiar with. Nona's salad starts life here. A 100 square meter fully automated hydroponic farm in a warehouse about 10 kilometers away from the restaurant.
Our plants are actually growing up in pure water.
Urban vertical farming is growing wildly around the world, and in the wake of a series of so far untraceable E. coli outbreaks involving romaine lettuce, proponents say this is a safer alternative.
We can track from the seed all the way through the growth cycle. We know the pH level of the nutrient and the water that these plants were grown in essentially every single day of its life.
But this indoor farm is also different than others. The key is the lights. Changing the color of the light alters the physiological response of the plant. So using different light combinations, they can manipulate size, shape, texture, and taste.
Oh, peppery.
Yeah, pepper.
Wow. Way more peppery than the arugula I'm used to. What a difference.
Light can also be used to change plants' medicinal compounds. It can even make them more nutritious.
We can increase things like calcium and phosphorus and various vitamins by as much as 50% just by changing light recipes.
This controlled environment was developed at the University of Guelph. The original goal of the research, finding a way to support human life on a mission to Mars.
Food determines how far from Earth we can go and how long we can stay.
They don't have a mission to Mars yet, but there's no shortage of harsh environments on Earth that could benefit from fresh, local, nutritious vegetables, like the Canadian Arctic or the middle of a desert. Recently, Kuwait set up a large-scale pilot project using this Canadian technology. So far, though, no similar venture here in Canada.
It galls me, quite frankly, to think that this Canadian technology, which should be in the north, addressing food security issues, will find its first expression in a large-scale pilot in the deserts of Kuwait.
Perhaps one day Canada too will recognize that the potential for these leafy greens goes well beyond a tasty lunchtime salad. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Toronto.
The moment is next. How those stuck in lockdown in France during today's deadly shooting paid tribute to the victims. But first, Time's Person of the Year is a news event created by journalists and this year for journalists. What Time magazine calls the guardians on the front lines of the war on truth. People like Jamal Khashoggi, long a critic of fellow Saudi elites, who walked into a Saudi consulate and never emerged alive again. Or two Reuters journalists jailed for their coverage of Myanmar's slaying of Rohingya Muslims.
Every day that Walong and Choseo remain in prison is an assault on press freedom.
Time notes that 262 journalists were imprisoned in 2017, a record. Another person on the cover of Time could be next, Maria Ressa. No one has covered the Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte's violent tenure like her scrappy news site Rappler. When I spoke with Ressa last year, she talked about the death threats she was getting.
If you do not believe in us, you do not deserve to exist.
Now she's facing tax evasion charges that could put her behind bars for years. You could say 2018 is a reminder of how dangerous journalism can be, but not just for journalists. The powerful are clearly afraid of what they do.
How about Spider-Man? You know about Spider-Man?
Yeah.
How about the Hulk? Do you have the Hulk here?
Yeah.
The Hulk? Really? The Hulk is on TV here too?
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad that this area is not culturally deprived.
Which one is your favorite?
Oh, gee, you know, that's almost like asking a parent who's his favorite child. I think I love them all. But maybe I like Spider-Man a little bit better. And maybe it's because he's just so popular. I have to like him, you know, because he's our best-selling character.
How do you think of the character like Spider-Man? How do you get to think of a guy
With
like
great difficulty. But I really don't know how. You know, if we need a new character, I'll sit down and I'll say, well, we need a new character. Now, let's see. We already have a guy who crawls on walls and spins webs. We already have a guy who's the god of thunder and a fellow who's got green skin and he breaks through buildings up and so forth. What haven't we got? You know, and then you sort of sit and eliminate. They say, well, we don't have a fella perhaps who can counteract the power of gravity. Maybe a person who can walk on air. And we'll call him Anti-Gravity Man. Of course, that's silly, but so you say, okay, there's one. Or maybe a fellow who can walk through walls, you know, and we'll call him the Wall Walker or something. And you just, but getting the idea is easy. The tough thing is saying to yourself, okay, I've got an idea for a character, but now what can I do to this character to make the readers care about him?
When I start writing stories, they start off quite good, but then they start fading away. When yours, like Spider-Man, they always stay good. How do you do that?
I think the most important thing is you yourself have to say to yourself, is the story holding my interest, meaning your interest? And if it isn't, you have to say why. And you have to say, well, maybe I've been writing about the same thing too long. Maybe I should now introduce another character or have something mysterious happen. Maybe my hero or my heroine suddenly receives a telegram and opens it up and looks at it and says, oh no, not that, and then puts it down. And then the reader will wonder, hey, what was in that telegram?
Is it in comics, is it usually the biggest, strong, and ugly characters that are most successful?
No. You know what it is? It's the ones that are the most interesting and the ones that the viewers and the readers of comics can most relate to. It doesn't matter if the character is ugly or is handsome or is weak or is strong. If there's something about the character that makes you like the character and care about the character. Now, I think we've done it with a lot of different ones. Certainly, Peter Parker. Who's Peter Parker, quickly?
Spider-Man.
Okay. Just want to see that you're awake. Peter Parker is totally different than the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
They're both popular.
We want to return now to one of our top stories tonight, the deadly shooting at a Christmas market in Strasbourg, France. In a time of fear, once again for the French people, we are also again seeing their spirit of solidarity and resilience tonight at a lockdown basketball arena. And that's our moment. La Marseillaise, it's France's national anthem, a song about revolution, defiance, and unity. And this is home court for Strasbourg's pro basketball team. It's just across from the European Parliament, and everyone near that was ordered to stay in place with the gunmen still at large. Some 5,000 people were inside the arena. The team says they kept calm, even confined as they were for hours. And we've seen that spirit before in the 2015 attacks in Paris. Soccer fans belting the Marseillaise at the Stade de France amid the violence and confusion of the night. Scenes at once inspiring but also uncomfortably familiar in that country as violent times continue to call for shows of strength and resilience.
Well, that is quite the observation, Adrian, that the dark side of even these moments of resilience is how often people are having to call upon it, to draw on that well. It's a well that I hope never runs dry.
Well, it's a pretty interesting and strange learning curve, sort of globally. We saw it here in Toronto after the shooting on the Danforth. People instinctively you know, in restaurants, grab people off the streets, put them in the restaurants, close the doors, turned off the lights, hid. It's a type of sick muscle memory that people have had to develop.
And the Marseillaise, well, the first version of it anyway, because it's been rewritten, was written in Strasbourg, actually. So that's the National for Tuesday, December 11th. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.